After the massive success of the Hysteria album, Def Leppard fans waited anxiously for the follow-up that we were sure would continue the band's string of diamond-selling releases. And we waited, and we waited. 5 years later, on March 30th, 1992, Adrenalize graced the shelves of record stores everywhere. So how did an album that screamed 1980s fare in the grunge-ridden 90s? Did music fans, in fact, want to get rocked? Patrick, Ryan, Jones, Nate, and I discuss that right after this.
The hair metal guru from Warren to Crew. The hair metal guru. Never forget Charlie too.
Welcome to the Hair Metal Guru. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. And yes, it's another sausage party because we are back to discussing semi-controversial albums of the hair metal genre. Today we're talking about Def Leppard, Adrenalize. With that, let's meet our round table. Right next to me, we got Jones from Tennessee, the arbiter of the YouTube channel, hanging with Drummer Boy Jones. Jones, how you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. I am looking forward to this because you guys picked this album and I have not listened to it in years. So
okay,
looking very forward to this.
All right, make sure you go subscribe to Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones. Right below him, it's Nate Danger from the YouTube channel Rock and Danger. Nate, welcome back to the show.
Canada's in the house. Thank you very much for the invite. I appreciate it, and I too am looking forward to this because I got some thoughts on this album.
Okay. Hey, speaking of Canada, we just recorded, me and Patrick and another guy recorded a video the other day about 5 albums that we think people need to revisit. I had 2 Canadian bands on it. I'm not going to tell you which ones because you're going to have to watch the video. So anyway, Canada was well represented.
Awesome. Well, I watch all your videos, so I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. And right next to him, we got RVK, Ryan VK, the lead singer of the band Metalcast and a regular on the channel here, and he is sporting a kick-ass Def Leppard shirt. Ryan, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me, man.
You bet, you bet. And right above him, it's Colonel Patrick. Patrick, who is basically another member of the channel, does so many videos, does so much behind the scene. Patrick, welcome back.
I love Def Leppard.
All right.
Slang, that is.
Slang, that is. All right. Okay, so a couple different things about this album. Maybe at least one big one. One big one is that it was produced by Mike Shipley and Def Leppard. Mutt Lange, even though he's listed on the album, was the executive producer. So that means like they went to him and he would offer some suggestions and things, but he wasn't the one in there doing all the production. And a big one that maybe I should have put in the intro, but Steve Clark died in 1991. So the band recorded a lot of the demos and the songs were written when he was in the band, but his parts were, as far as I know, redone by Phil Collin. So I think Steve is listed as a songwriter on 5 or 6 of the songs. The album did debut at #1, even though it came out in 1992. It stayed there 5 weeks. However, it only went triple platinum. And after Hysteria, I don't care what anybody says, triple platinum was considered a failure for an album that had not 3, not 4, but 7 fucking singles. But we are here to discuss our opinions on Adrenalize. So with that, we're going to get into it. Here's what we're going to, first, we're going to talk about like, where were you with Def Leppard back in the day before Adrenalize came out? And we're going to stick with that same rotation. I might change things up a little bit. But Jones, were you a massive Def Leppard fan before Adrenalize? Where were you with Def Leppard?
Not really. Sort of like we talked about on our previous show, casual fan. I don't really, still to this day, don't know much about Def Leppard prior to Pyromania. Pyromania was great. Hysteria, when it first came out, thought it was a letdown. Wasn't much. I didn't really like Hysteria. Over time, I've grew to love it. But yeah, just a casual fan.
Okay. Nate Danger, where were you at with Def Leppard before Adrenalize?
I feel like I was a pretty big fan. My first introduction to Def Leppard was Pyromania. I used to have a boarder who lived with us, and he had a Trans Am, and he was older. He's in grade 12. I'm in like grade 8. And he would take me out to meet chicks and stuff and like just crank Pyromania to where my ears were like bleeding. I was like the loud. It was that and AC/DC. And so Pyromania was my first introduction. And cruising around in a Trans Am is deadly anyway, especially to cranking out Pyromania. And then Hysteria came out, and the album was just amazing. I mean, it spawned hit after hit after hit. It was at a time in my life when you got high school dances, you're having your first loves and different things, and so all that music has played out in the soundtrack of my life, and it was a fantastic time. So I have a very soft spot for that album. Absolutely. I was a huge fan. I would say at the point, anticipation of this album, Def Leppard might have been in my top 5.
Okay. Wow. By the way, I had a Trans Am, but it wasn't it wasn't confused about its sexual identity, so it just went by an am and not a trans. Anyway.
It was a Grand Am.
That's right. That's right. Ryan, where are you at with Def Leppard prior to Adrenalize?
Oh, kind of the Secession was the same thing. I got into Hysteria actually first, and then I went back and I was like, I have to have everything. And I think Adrenalize was probably like fourth in line of the stuff I was really getting into by them. And so that's kind of where I was at. It was probably like Hysteria, High and Dry, Pyromania, then Adrenalize. And I was, I was a pretty massive fan already by that point.
I mean, and haven't you said that Hysteria is like your favorite album of all time?
Yeah, I mean, I'll always say AC/DC is going to be my favorite first and foremost forever, but Hysteria somehow trumps it, and I think that it's truly become my favorite album of all time just due to the diversity of that album.
Okay. Okay. So I'm interested to hear if that's your favorite album of all time, whether you were let down or not by Adrenalize.
Yeah.
Patrick, where were you at with Def Leppard?
My gateway was Hysteria in 1987, and I listened to that fucking album at least. I bought it 3 times in about a 3-year cycle because I wore it out every year. I mean, I was in 3rd, 4th grade when Hysteria came out, and holy shit, that album was fucking epic, and there I felt like it took a year of listening to it just to hear the whole record, because there's so much in there that you'd make it through the first 3 songs, and then that was all you listened to, and then you'd move on to the next ones, and then I turned on so many kids in like 4th grade Def Leppard that had no idea what the fuck that was. They all were listening to Madonna and shit, and they're like, oh shit, show and tell again, I'm bringing in the Def Leppard tape. So I was that kid. So I loved Hysteria. That was how I got into it, and I didn't hear any of the albums before it until after I'd heard Adrenalize.
I think probably with a lot of us, you started with Hysteria because I was 14 or 15. So I actually went out and bought Hysteria. I had never bought Pyromania. But who didn't know about Pyromania? Everybody knew fucking Photograph and Rock of Ages and all of that shit. Even if you didn't own it, you could not get away from Pyromania. And I fucking worship Pyromania. It's one of the greatest albums of all time. That being said, in 1987, 1988, I very likely would have said that Def Leppard was my favorite band and that Hysteria was my favorite album of all time. I could not get enough of it. And I'm sure I bought it before Pour Some Sugar on Me because Def Leppard was that massive. Now the masses of America came in after Pour Some Sugar on Me. Yeah. But rock fans, guys who liked rock, we bought that shit right away just because you knew of the Pyromania songs. And I swore up and down that Hysteria was the greatest album of all time. Now I'll say this. It has not aged well. Like, I still like it, of course, but whereas I would have said Hysteria was my #1 album of all time, for Def Leppard. Now I tend to go Pyromania, and I'm not going to say Adrenalize because I'll let you know what I think about that in a second. But now I would put Pyromania and High and Dry before Hysteria. For some reason, it's aged too polished and too whatever, and now I go back to the more stripped down Pyromania and High and Dry. But that being said, Hysteria at one point, or Def Leppard at one point, was my favorite band of all time. So, all right. The first single, Let's Get Rocked. It's 1992. And when you hear those opening fucking words, do you want to get rocked? I think a lot of people were like, okay, we're still doing this. So let's talk about the first time you maybe heard that single, and maybe if you were too young and you didn't hear it till later, just let us know what you think of that song or when you remember hearing it. So I'm just going to go in reverse order. Patrick, where were you at with the first single?
The Freddie Mercury concert is the first time I heard "Do You Want to Get Rocked," and they came out and they played that. That was also the first time they played with Vivian, I think, and I was like, "Oh my God, this song is so great!" But of course, keep in mind, I was, what is that, 92, early 92 when that concert happened, maybe, and so. I was eighth grade was over. It was time for freshman year, and I was still ready for something that sugary and sweet, and I thought it was cool. Plus, Joe Elliott had those fucking jeans with the fucking Union Jack on them, and I was like, "Oh fuck me, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen." So,
Okay.
going now though, I'm like, "Fuck, that song's cornball as shit."
Right. Ryan, where were you at with Let's Get Rocked?
Well, it's got a little bit of that cherry pie treatment if you're going to play Monday morning quarterback, like you're saying, like the title, the subject matter, the video in this case, kind of ruin it anytime past like 1995 technology, but it's obviously like passe and corny now, but at the time it was cutting edge. But hate it all you want. I think it's catchy as shit. Corny, yes. But the performance and the color scheme in the video is killer. Like if you haven't watched that video in a while, if they were to only have done the performance, it's really cool. Like they were at the top of their game financially probably, and they were just firing on all cylinders. So I still dig it. And a little like nod to myself. There's the part that says 7-day weekend. I thought for ages it said send in VK. And if anybody knows me, they don't want to say Van Cathoven. They want to call me VK. So if I thought they said send in VK up all night, I was like, yes, they're talking to me. I love it. So I still like the song, but I totally understand the corniness.
Right. Okay. Nate Danger, where are you at with Let's Get Rocked?
The first time I saw it, it would have been was seeing the video on Much Music here in Canada, and I like what Ryan just said because the video, it's when I first saw it, I would have been probably 17 at the time, 17, 18, 17 probably.
Do you age?
Pardon me?
Do you age?
No. Think how young I looked back then. But this video, first off, they had the animation, which I get they're trying to be relevant and so on, but I do feel that it simplified it too much. It made it kind of corny for me, who was into bands like Guns N' Roses at the time, and you're looking for the dirtier, sleazier side of things. So to see an animation and then the words, the lyrics are pretty corny. This is the problem I have a little bit with this song and kind of with this whole album is it feels like it's marketed to 13 or 14-year-olds falling in love for the first time, and it's kind of immature is how I feel. And that's how I felt about the video. But I love that you said, because if you take the animation away, the live shots that they have, the coloring, the video, the red and the black and gray and the stuff, and his outfit, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jones, Let's Get Rocked.
when it first come out, I thought it was so awesome. I absolutely loved it. Where I guess I'm going to be the bad cop tonight on Hysteria. Wasn't big of a fan. I was not a big fan of Hysteria, and in '92 when Let's Get Rock come out, it was just like everything, like you said, was turning more heavier, angrier, that kind of stuff. And I was like, damn, we're back to 1988 right now. And yes, the lyrics are cheesy, but in 1992, to me, it wasn't cheesy. I was just like, this is fantastic. I loved it. It was, and I still love it. I think it's a great song, and the video is great. And like you said, the animation of the video, and in 2025, yeah, the lyrics are pretty corny, but still a great song.
Didn't they go like a long period? I think they went a long period where they didn't play that song,
Mhm.
probably because of like we're talking about the corniness. But I
Yeah.
think they brought it back because I think a lot of us have started to become nostalgic for even the corniness of some of that shit. So I think they do play it live again now. Um, that song came out. I was a freshman in college. I still remember when we were sitting in the fucking little lounge because I had never had MTV at home. I was on a little farm, and all of a sudden we get to college, and it was actually a big deal. That was the first year that Morehead State University in Minnesota got MTV or cable TV in the dorm. So we would always sit and gather. So I remember when Smells Like Teen Spirit, and we're like, holy fuck, what's this? We didn't think it was going to be this drastic change. We're just like, oh, here's another hard rock band. But anyway, I have a very specific memory, and it's like it was the moment where the planets were aligned. I got a job working for a DJ company my freshman year in college. It was called Dude Walker's Music on Wheels. And you would get the car, and it would have this big fucking setup of all this equipment that you had to set up with lights and everything, racks of CDs, and I would go do dances on the weekend and be the DJ. So I did this huge fucking college, or maybe it was some high school thing where there was tons of high school kids from all these different schools, and I'm DJing it. There's got to be thousands of kids there. And I remember playing Def Leppard, Let's Get Rocked, and the kids went nuts. And then I went into Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, and the kids went fucking nuts. But it was like that period ended very shortly after that, where you would think that Nirvana and Def Leppard would fit together. Anyway, I'm dragging this on. I loved it when it came out. You were like, fuck, the music was catchy as shit. Yeah, did you think the lyrics were stupid as shit? But I was 19 years old. You were all about being stupid as shit. Now,
Yep.
like later on, and I've said this a million times, mow the lawn, walk the dog. Are you fucking shitting
Take
me?
out the trash.
Some of the stupidest lines in rock history, but at the time, I thought it was fucking great. So
Yep.
that's my thoughts on Let's Get
It's
Rocked.
kind of like a 90s Let It Go, though. You know what I mean? Like, how Let It Go builds and builds and builds and builds, and you're like, oh, this song is getting so much more killer as it goes on. It's like a 90s like Simpsons cartoon version of Let It Go. You know?
And didn't they play it like at the MTV Video Music Award?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it's funny that you mentioned that, because when you were saying the DJ thing, the perfect analogy and visual is Joe Elliott
Yes.
on that performance with the beret, the long coat, the rocker shirt, the short shorts, and the boots. It's like, you're so fucking confused, bro. Like, what are you doing? So it's funny because that was wrapped up all in what you said.
And
Yeah.
and at that same show, I think Nirvana played, and that's where the contrast between the two styles, and I've always been one. I'm like fucking look like a rock star. Don't fucking look like you pump my gas. But Joe Elliott at that performance I mean, he had like fucking biker shorts and a leather jacket and a beret and boots. I mean, holy fuck. You know, why
Confused.
can't we have just stayed with like black leather and leather pants and shit? That made it kind of looked ridiculous anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Wasn't it Axl Rose who really started screwing that up though, with his white spandex and
yes.
his Doc Martens and his he looked like an idiot.
I always thought the worst look for Axel was at the end of concerts when he'd come out in the Everlast boxing jacket with the boxing shorts and
Yeah,
Like he was fucking like he was there to ump Little League baseball. He had the
Yes.
fucking catchers, whatever thing on, and then the kilt, and you're like, but
stupid.
you know, I hate, but like at that point, he's like, I could wear anything and it'll worship me. So I'm just gonna go see how far I can push it. That's what I think he's thinking. And shit, probably Joe Elliott was thinking the same thing at the same time. You know, he was in the biggest band. I mean, they were the only band that had 10 million selling albums in the fucking 80s. So how do you not get a massive head? I mean, fuck, I got a massive head from fucking, because we did hit 10,000 subscribers last week. Anyway, I'm just fucking with you. So
I can't wait to get 1,000 subscribers. Then I'm gonna have a massive head.
I just went over 150. Boom.
there you go. Fucking go fucking subscribe to Rock and Danger. Go to subscribe to Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones. I dig their shit. So okay. So now let's get into do you remember getting the album and then maybe don't talk about how it's how you think about it now. Maybe talk about what when you were first getting it and listening to it in 1992, what was your opinion of it then? And then we'll kind of go, okay, where are you at with it now? And we'll just go back to Jones. We'll go back that rotation. Jones, where do you remember getting it? What did you think when you were first listening to it?
Yeah, I remember getting it. And at that time, I think we talked on a previous, I worked at a record store and got it the day it come out. And I liked it. You know, I wasn't, Def Leppard's a band with me. I either really like their songs or I don't like their songs. There's no, that's okay. You know, there's none of those for me personally, but yeah, no, I liked it. 70% of it I thought was really good at the time.
Okay. And you don't, but also feel free to comment on particular songs if you want to, and if you don't want to, no big deal.
Yeah. Just real quick. I mean, I thought the singles that they picked on this record was the singles that should have been picked. And I liked them. I liked all of the singles on this record. And going back to you talking just real quickly, you was talking about the looks. And I don't know why, but if you look up bass player in the dictionary, it better have a picture of Rick Savage. He is the coolest fucking guy in the world. Something about him and his bass playing and his looks. He's a bass player. He's a rock and roll bass player. And that's what
what's his name in Hysteria? It was Baron Beaverbrook, Sir Richard, Rick Savage.
All right. Okay, Nate Danger, tell us, do you remember getting the album? What do you think when you first had it?
I do. I remember getting it because I did the same thing. I was working my job, making minimum wage. Payday comes. First thing I did, get my paycheck, deposit it in the bank, and head down to Midtown Mall here in Saskatoon. And went
for your
to
job, were you mowing the lawn and walking the dog?
Yeah, that's right. Take out the trash. And I went down right away to Sam the Record Man, and I'm going down, buy the album, and it was always the same because I'm in underground parking, and I could never leave until I pop the cassette in and you start playing it because you want to listen to it all the way back. And I was already familiar with Let's Get Rocked, great song. And second song, Heaven Is, right? Starts in, decent song. I feel like so much material on this album for me was pretty good. I feel like none of it really stood out. And it might be because I was on such a high from Hysteria. Hysteria is I think one of the greatest albums of all time. And I know the drummer in my band at the time, it was his favorite album. That's all we listened to over and over and over. And this album to me just felt like it really feels like a bunch of B-sides that they compiled to put together an album. The production was challenging for me. I feel like I definitely miss Mutt Lange. It feels like there's certain points where the guitar should have kicked in and should have been like aggressive, but it's so laid out in the background or polished and smooth that it doesn't really sound like a rock record to me. That was my initial feeling, and I found it really hard to get into this record, actually.
Okay. All right. Ryan, Adrenalize.
Yeah, I probably got it in 98 or 9 or something. That's when I kind of realized it. And it was right on par, to be honest. It was like Adrenalize Hysteria 2.0. And that's kind of where I was at with it at the time. And yeah, I definitely didn't get it brand new. So I was delayed probably 7 years or so. But, I was totally feeling it then.
Okay. All right. Patrick, where were we at with, do you remember getting it? And what do you think when you first got it?
One of my really good friends at the time, his name was Kent, and he had it. And he brought it over one time during the summer of 92. The summer when it came out. Yeah, summer of 92. And I remember our pop radio station in Oregon, Z100, was playing the shit out of every single from that record. And at the time that I got it, it was Making Love Like a Man. And I was so tired of hearing that song because I was like, shit, Let's Get Rocked was awesome, but what the fuck is this? Like, and like, why has he got to sing about it? Like, are people not making love like a man? Like, is there a problem? Like, I don't get it. And so I not burned, but like made a cassette copy of his. Because at that time, I wasn't working. So, going out and being able to have the money to go buy it, I didn't have. So I had a cassette tape copy of it. And I figured Def Leppard had enough money. So, but listening to it, I was like, fuck, like I'm echoing a lot of what Nate Danger said, because it's like, this is a good record and I'm enjoying it, but it's certainly not as rockin' as Hysteria was. And it certainly felt like at the time, like with it being on pop radio, it wasn't on the rock radio station. So I was like, wow, they really went pop here. And it's like, they'd be like, that's the new one from, Keith Sweat. Here's Def Leppard. And you'd be like, these have nothing in common. Why are they playing New Edition with Def Leppard? I don't want to make love like a man, like, so, but
He wants to make love like a Trans Am.
Like a Trans Am. But eventually over time, listening to the whole record, I fucking loved, there's songs on there I just loved at the time. I loved White Lightning. I thought that song fucking ruled. I love Tear It Down. The one right after Tear It Down is really good too. But
Isn't Tear It Down the last song in the album?
The one before Tear It Down was
Yes. I want to
touch you. Yeah, but
I
again,
want to touch.
really super poppy. The ballads I thought were really some of the best ballads they'd written. Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad was on the radio constantly, and I love Stand Up. Stand Up was fucking killer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was pumped as shit after Let's Get Rocked, and just like Nate said, Hysteria was phenomenal. Just kidding, Nate. I like the way you say that. So I'm like so fucking jacked, and I think I got it I used to get, there was a media play, which was like the big fucking music outlet. We had a couple mom and pop record shops, but shit was cheaper at media play, and they had all the big albums. So I go get it, and And I'm listening to it in college, like Charlie has to go potty. Holy shit. And I'm listening to it nonstop, and I'm like, it sounds amazing. I mean, obviously, they put a shit ton of money, and they had a massive budget after Hysteria, so it was going to sound great. And I loved part of it. I thought Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad was a billion times better than Love Bites, because Love Bites is one of the worst ballads of all time. So
Ugh.
I really liked that. I really liked Heaven Is a Lot. I thought Stand Up, Kick Love into Motion was really good. I thought Tear It Down was really good. But I also remember thinking, like, it sounds like it should be my favorite album of all time. Why do I merely like it a lot and I'm not fucking just obsessed with it like Hysteria? So I knew after a little while of spinning it that I was like, this is really good. But Def Leppard went from being like my favorite band of all time, and I went through the same change with Bon Jovi from New Jersey to Keep the Faith. I was obsessed with New Jersey, and I merely liked Keep the Faith. So Bon Jovi and Def Leppard went from being like those, the prior two albums were like, to these two kind of just being like, oh, okay, yeah, it's good. If you put it on at a party, I'm not going to be disappointed. But I'm also gonna, when I get in the car, I might play it here and there. But I'm also gonna mix in some other shit because it's just like kind of whatever. So in a way that felt like a disappointment compared to what I expected. So how was it aged? And we'll kind of get into that because I already said before that Hysteria didn't age that well. Where are you at now? Do you ever revisit Adrenalize, or is it something that you pulled out just for this fucking video because it's aged like shit? And let's go with Ryan. Where are you at with Adrenalize right now?
Adrenalize has always been killer to me. I love it. I loved it in the awful 90s. As a kid that was in high school in the mid 90s to the late 90s, I shouldn't have liked Adrenalize. I shouldn't have liked any of this shit, but I fucking loved it. And I love it now. It was number 3 in my Def Leppard pick on our roundtable. So it was obviously Hysteria number 1, Pyromania, then this. Do I think that this album is better suited for 1990? Absolutely. If they hadn't allowed the Hysteria legs to continue walking through the sales charts, which of course financially and sales wise it was a good move, and then the death of Steve Clark, it delayed this thing. It was way better suited for 1990. I don't dispute that. If they had it to do over again, they would do more of a dog eat dog pull, retroactive feel. I guarantee that. And it probably would have been a lot of Def Leppard fans' favorite album, a la Primal Scream, Angela, etc. You know what I mean? But, at least Def Leppard saved their clunker for 1996, unlike Motley, who decided to do it in 94 and through the 90s, 97. But anyway, that's different. But I love it. And I think right now, it's kind of my go-to Def Leppard album, and I think it's got the legs that Hysteria has for me. Adrenalize has, and Heaven Is. You guys talked about it a lot. That's like peak Joe Elliott vocals, and like what better band to be in '92 than Def Leppard? Like on top of the world, financially, like untouchable. You could kind of do no wrong. Yeah, Make Love Like a Man. I wish it were retitled, obviously. Tonight, I'm not a huge fan, but man, that chorus has insane vocals. White Lightning, I thought it was killer. I thought it was like a perfect tribute to Steve. And I think they did the right thing in giving like one somber song. no one wanted the U2 version of Def Leppard. Let's just say that. They wanted the Def Leppard that we all know and love. Poppy, happy, catchy. You got a White Lining, you got a Gods of War. You got like a Billy's Got a Gun, whatever. Personal Property, love it, tongue in cheek. Have you ever needed someone so bad? Love it. I Want to Touch You, killer, still huge, still killer. Maybe not the right release for 92, but killer. And Tear It Down, awesome. Like, I go to this album in the last year. I've probably gone to this album more than Hysteria, High and Dry, or Pyromania. So I loved it in the 90s in a weird time frame, and I love it now.
Okay. Wow. Nate Danger, how did it age for you?
Not the same as for Ryan. No, I don't know. You know, the album, I don't think it aged well. First off, you got like Make Love Like a Man and Personal Property. I think the lyrics are very male chauvinistic, so that obviously doesn't age well in today's society. I just thought the whole album was pretty boring. Even the guitar riffs seem uninspired. Like Make Love Like a Man, it's like you're just playing these random chords. It's like I got a 3-chord structure with nothing in between. There was none of the excitement that there was in previous Def Leppard albums, which bothered me. Don't get me wrong, there's songs I like. Like I think Tonight is a great song. I think the chorus is super catchy. White Lightning, good song. Didn't need the minute of intro nonsense. They could have just kicked it in, and that's a good tune. I do like in White Lightning, I think is the one that this says Dance with Danger.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, but it's just seemed like, and I don't want to compare to Bon Jovi, but Bon Jovi went to this balladeer type rock star where it was like just ballad, mid-tempo ballad, and that's what this album feels like to me. The best song on this album is Tear It Down, which is a rework of a song that, I mean, they played it in 1989. It was a B-side to Women or whatever, but that to me is the best song. It's like, okay, I waited 10 tracks to get something rocking, but still the production lacks. So for me, this album hasn't aged. I never revisit this album. I revisit the 3 primary Def Leppard albums instead. So
Okay. All right. Jones, how did it age for you?
Well, guys, like I said earlier, I've not listened to this album in some time. And when you guys brought it up, I was like, wow, cool. I'm looking forward to this. And I put it on, and this thing aged fantastic. I'm like Ryan. This thing is better than Hysteria in my eyes.
Oh,
Boom. Out of the park. Here we go. Step up to the plate.
Inspiring shots there.
And Make Love Like a Man is fantastic. More cowbell. Rick Allen, you're the man. And I've seen I've seen a meme, and it's and I don't know if one of you guys sent it to me or I seen it on Twitter, and it says, if you air drum to Def Leppard with both hands, you're a dick. And I agree 100%. Rick Allen, I mean, so much tragedy has happened to this band, in all seriousness, that they're still a band is unbelievable. And they all deserve their props. I mean, even still to this day, you know, with Vivian going through his cancer and things like that, I love this record. There was only, and sorry, Nate, but to me, the worst song on it's Tonight. That was my probably, you know, I said earlier, I either love a song or I don't really like it with Def Leppard, and Tonight was it. The rest of them I really like. I Want to Touch You is the best track on the record, in my opinion. I loved it. It's just, these guys know how to write pure pop rock masterpieces. And I'm not knocking Hysteria at all. Please don't think I am, because Hysteria is a great record. But reliving this, and I've not heard it in several years, man, I couldn't get enough of it this week. I bet I've listened to this thing 8 or 10 times this week, just back and forth to work.
look at that. You changed his life, man.
right.
Loved it. I'm glad you guys picked it.
This channel will change your life. Just kidding.
Change your life, man. Change your life.
Jones kind of mentioned all the tragedy. This is off topic. But I think if any band is demanding a movie like Queen got Bohemian Rhapsody, Motley Crue got The Dirt, somebody needs to make the real Def Leppard movie, not that piece of shit that was on
Ooh,
VH1,
such
20 years ago. That was the worst thing ever. Actually make a big budget real Def Leppard movie, and I bet that thing fucking does really well in the theaters. So.
yep, I agree. I completely agree. But yeah, I completely enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic, and yeah, I can't get it. I couldn't get enough of it this week.
Okay. Patrick, where you at with the Adrenalize now?
So I don't think I'd listened to Adrenalize in probably 20 years at least until this week, because I'd listened to it so much. And I went into it going like, well, I know all these songs. You look at the back and you can hear the songs in your head. And I was just like, all right. So I put it on, and I gotta say, like, I was like right back in the pocket. I was like, fuck, these are good songs. And by about the second or third listen, I was like, okay, I'm fucking done. Um, and it's not because it sucked. It's just it doesn't hold up over time. Jonesy and I on Jones's channel, subscribe to Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones. We're talking about Pretty Boy Floyd the other day. I was like, I can't identify with even their last record where they got a song about being fucking high school queen 17. I'm like, I'm 47 years old. Like, it just doesn't ring for me. Because I was putting in, going through this album, and like Heaven Is would come on, and I was like, all right, yeah. But then you get to like Stand Up and Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad? And I was like, fuck, these songs are timeless. They're just so good. And to echo Ryan's point, I don't think Joe Elliott ever sounded better than on that record. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I will say it till the day I die, that Slang is an incredible record, and it's probably my favorite. I'm very passionate about that record. It might even be one of my absolute favorite records of all time. I love Slang so much. So it's really hard to look at Adrenalize objectively anymore, because what came next was so much more what everybody hated about this record was they put out their Serious record. And so if you got on board with that, which not a lot of people did, it's probably really easy to go back and go, oh, fuck, I love Adrenalize. Oh, fuck yeah. But if you got on board with the Slang record, it's really hard to go back and be like, wow, here we are singing about, what rhymes with crime, like time, like you could never look at this fucking record and be like, oh my God, the lyrics are so great. It's cornball as shit, but so is Poison, and I fucking love Poison. And so if I was ranking this on a 1 out of 10, I'd give it a 7.5 because it's still fucking great,
dude. But like you were saying about like the immaturity, if you will.
Yeah.
Outside of the band and their immediate circle, the family members and the diehards, that everybody knew about the death of Steve Clark, but they weren't going to sit there and, like I said, be a U2.
No, they weren't. You're absolutely right.
And be somber. Now, they probably went a little bit too far in the immaturity, if you will, again. But I think it was them trying to be like, all right, we're still happy, poppy, catchy, at the top of our game in all aspects, including Joe Elliott finally grew out his hair. No more mullet. I mean, he had full killer guy hair.
Yeah. What's fascinating, right, is before we recorded this, on YouTube, somebody put the MTV special about the making of the record. And I watched that over the last couple days. It's funny to watch them talk about this because it was on the release day that this went on MTV.
I see.
And it's so funny to listen to them talk about the recording of the record. Like Phil Collins sitting there with the guitar set up all set up. He's like, and then I won't walk this, and plays like, 2 seconds of White Lightning. And he's like, oh, it's like the greatest thing we've ever written.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, they really thought when they wrote this that they'd written the fucking greatest record they'd ever written. And
Yeah.
now I'm sure they look back on it and they probably agree it's kind of cornball. But
Well, they still
again,
play "Make Love Like a Man," which is interesting. Like that's one that I wouldn't expect them to be playing
Yeah.
live, but they
right.
do.
And this was, again, I don't want anybody to lose sight that when they made this record, it was a tribute to finishing the project that they'd started with their fallen guy,
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a rock record. It was kind of closing the circle for them.
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought they missed out on an opportunity to be a little bit more serious. Not that I wanted them to go all fucking angry and talk about how horrible life was, but we mentioned like the albums that really impacted us in 1992, like Dog Eat Dog and shit like that. Like they could have had some party rock, but they could have had a little bit more that was like, hey man, sometimes like shit is kind of fucked up, and let's and White Lightning. I mean, it's cool that they did a tribute to Steve Clark, but I don't think it's that great of a song. I don't find myself revisiting it a shit ton. But I'll say this: if this album comes out in '89 or '90, I don't think it does Hysteria levels. I just don't think it's as good. But I bet it would sell 7-8 million copies instead of the triple platinum that it went. And there's the part of me that salutes them for saying, "Fuck it, we're not changing. If
Yes.
anything, we're gonna go more immature." And they really fucking did. And I bet even if Def Leppard were like, hey, you know what? We got to get a little bit more serious. I bet the record label was, no, we'll just take Hysteria Part 2. Okay.
Yeah.
And you want us to get behind 7 singles and do all of this shit? That's what you're going to do. And if there's anything I've learned over the course of this channel and doing interviews, is that when the record label wants something, in general, they're going to get it because they're the ones with the checkbook. So, that being said, I don't think I listened to it a couple times, and it hasn't aged as shitty as I expected, and here's why I think. The older I get, like I am so maybe it's because of this channel, maybe it's just because of my age, but I'm so nostalgic for those old times that when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, fuck. 1992, I was a freshman in college. I remember hanging out with my friends. It was the best time of my life. And you're like, I want that back. So, that being said, I really still like Heaven Is. I, I think I thought back in the day that Make Love Like a Man was stupid. And now it's like the dumbest fucking song ever. Like, holy shit. Who even thought that was a good idea in 1982? Tonight is okay. I love ballads, but I don't really think that's that great. White Lightning, again, okay. I like Stand Up more than I thought I was going to. I was like, shit, that's a really good song. Again, the lyrics are kind of eh. Personal Property is catchy as shit. Again, the lyrics are horrible. Like Patrick said, have you ever needed someone so bad? That song I can still get behind. You get you like that's a timeless message. I want to touch you. Again, catchy as shit. Lyrics are kind of eh. But think even to this day, Tear It Down is the best song on that album. And I still play it on Hair Metal Mansion every now and then on Saturday nights. So that's the one song that I still really get behind. So it hasn't aged that bad, but I think that's mainly for nostalgia reasons.
I think
Well, I've heard you talk about "Tear It Down," and you really, really like that song. Several times you talked about it, and I think at the time when they created that in like '89, they're like, "All right, cool, we're going down to like a stripped down, high and dry, straight ahead rock. Like no weird breakdown of Rocket, no like long intro of Gods of War, all that shit." They were like, tear it down. They played it and it was just like straight ahead rock. And that's really like the only leftover of straight ahead rock on Adrenalize. Because the rest of it, even like Heaven Is, which I fucking love, is like you got a lot of bubble gum in there, you know? So I totally feel you where Tear It Down is more your cup of tea because you're more of a high and dry guy these days and a Pyromania guy these days. And Tear It Down is in that vein.
You know, and a song that Ryan fucking reminded me of, because I loved, I loved Retroactive. I think
Yeah.
back in the day, I thought Retroactive was a better album than Adrenalize.
Great
And
album.
if you had put She's Too Tough, Ryan reminded me of this song a while back. I completely forgot about it. If you put She's Too Tough on Adrenalize, that would become my favorite song on the fucking album.
Yeah,
Oh.
absolutely. And yeah, I mean, like I said, if they had it to do over, they'd do more Desert Song, Fractured Love,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
sprinkle in a little bit of She's Too Tough, Tear It Down, and then maybe a couple Heaven Is and Personal Properties. They may have left off I Want to Touch You, which I also love, but it probably was more of a 1990, not a 92.
Okay.
I wanted to add, they also made the best videos of their career for this record.
Yeah.
The most, I mean, Stand Up's video is brilliant. I think it's
What
fantastic.
happens when you have like 50 million to your
Unlimited fucking budget.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I got a question.
Yep.
Who else saw this tour?
I work security.
Ooh.
Did ya? This is my first time, I think, seeing Def Leppard. It was in 92, October 2nd in Saskatoon. It was also, coincidentally, the first and last time I dropped acid, so it was kind of a weird evening. But it made the show very memorable.
Who was with them?
I don't even know who opened.
Um,
I don't
Kid
think
Joe?
so when I saw him, it was Ugly Kid Joe. And
Yeah, I don't think it was Ugly Kid Joe in Canada. I'd have to go back and take a look. I don't think I've ever seen Ugly Kid Joe. Might have been.
it was 93 and I had just joined the Guard in January of 93, and like a few weeks after I joined, somebody from the Fargo Dome, the big arena in Fargo, came to our Guard unit and was like, "Hey, Guns N' Roses is coming and their reputation is for all, so we want like 300 extra security guards." So they were like, "Hey, we want a bunch of soldiers." And I'm like, "Fucking A, I'll go work security at Guns N' Roses." Anyway, after that, they're like, "Hey, you're now on the, so if you want to work concerts, just let us know." So Def Leppard came not too long after on the Adrenalize tour. And what I remember is was actually really cool is that like the Def Leppard guys were out throwing a football on the fucking grounds while we're all getting set up while they were waiting. And I was like, "Oh, you know, you're like, shit, that's cool." Like they're still kind of hanging out, and it's not like all five of them, but a couple of them. I think Vivian and Joe Elliott were out doing that. But so it was
Must have been impressive to see Rick Allen.
that's right.
You can
That's
get
right.
everything.
But I
40-yard passes.
I know. I mean, it was at our biggest arena. I don't think it was sold out though. I don't think it was, you know, like back on Hysteria doing shit in the round. But there was probably 10,000, 10 or 12,000 people in an arena that if it was sold out could hold like 19.
Interesting. I just looked that they toured across the world with Ugly Kid Joe, Thunder, and another band called Terror Vision.
They're an overseas band. I used to see them written about all the time in Kerrang magazine.
Cool. Terror Vision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tour's the first time I'd seen them. I'd never seen them before, and
I got to find out. I do have the Saskatoon set list here of what they played.
Okay. All right.
I got to find out who the opening band was.
Okay.
I know Tesla also toured with them for
Yep.
Psychotic Supper.
Yeah,
True.
Tesla's the best.
This was awesome. All right, so that brings us to the end of talking about Def Leppard, Adrenalize. Is it a controversial album? Yeah, I don't know, but it was one of the ones where a lot of people had opinions about it. It came out at a difficult time for our favorite bands. Still went triple platinum, but it was a blast having you guys to come on. We would love it if you went in the comments and let us know what you thought about Adrenalize. And the reason I didn't ask people about what they thought about Def Leppard after this is I get a sneaking suspicion that we're probably going to talk about the Slang album at some point because Patrick has been begging to fucking do that. So I expect that we will do that at some point. With that, it's time to say goodbye to our roundtable members. Jones from Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones, always a blast having you on, man.
Thank you, brother. This was such a fun time. I hadn't thought about this record in years, so
Okay.
I appreciate you guys bringing it up. It was so fun to listen to it, and it was a pleasant surprise for me. So thanks, and thanks for the plugs. And hey, Stevie should thank us. So we went and bought some Stevie merchandise this week. Me and Patrick, I shouldn't say me and Patrick. Me, I was just like a little schoolgirl. I posted Patrick posted a picture of his Metal Sludge, and I sent him a text. I was like, "Are you going to wear your Metal Sludge shirt tonight? Because if not, you know."
Yeah, I ordered some shit after I did that interview. I ordered some because I didn't have the tough 85 to 89 vinyl. I ordered that, and I haven't opened it yet because I'm probably going to do an unboxing video.
There you go.
So
cool.
Nate Danger from Rockin' Danger. Thanks for coming on, man.
Man, thank you very much for the invite. Thank you so much for having me. For anyone who's out there, check us out, Rockin' Danger on YouTube. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram and X and everything else. And yeah, appreciate it. This has been a total blast. Love hanging with you guys, even if I'm not the biggest Adrenalize fan.
All right, yes, go subscribe to Rockin' Danger. Subscribe to Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones. Ryan BK from Metalcast, lead singer, and Metalcast got a little love on Hair Metal Mansion last weekend because I played fucking, what's it called? Heavy Metal Rambo from the Metalcast debut CD. I love that song. It's a great album. You guys should go buy it. Ryan, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. And thank you for playing that song. I appreciate it. And hey, Brian from the Hairband Basement, Adrenalize is pretty fucking killer, so check it out. Hey, Jones agrees.
That's right.
All right, Patrick, Colonel Patrick, who does so much work behind the scenes, has hooked us up with so many great interviews. He's a huge part of why the channel is where it's at. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, man. This was a lot of fun, and I got to echo exactly what you said earlier. Everybody fucking go out and subscribe to Drummer Boy Jones. Make sure you're fucking subscribed to Nate Danger and Rockin' Danger because they're the fucking clown princes of this genre, and I fucking love their channel so fucking much. And VK's album with Metalcast is fucking killer. And once and for all, this is the best fucking channel on YouTube. So subscribe here too.
Absolutely.
There you go. Take that, you guys. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, if you go in the description, you will see the link to Hair Metal Mansion that I host every Saturday on Rock 101 KLOL from 6 to 8 Central Time. You'll find the link to FNA Records, who are putting out releases from some of our favorite bands from back in the 80s. You'll find the link to Hair Metal Guru merch if you want to look all badass, kind of like Burt Reynolds and shit. And hey, like, subscribe, what the hell, ring the bell, and whatever you can do to support the channel. I just appreciate you being here. Until the next video comes out, my name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. Take care of yourselves.